We are back, people. And it's not in the middle of the week this time. And it's actually on Sunday. Oh, God.
Well, I'm excited because I finished Sunrise on the Reaping. The bookmark is my sister's because she's reading it now, so I'm actually finished with it. Finished it the day before yesterday, I think, because yesterday I started reading The Hunger Games. So it was Friday is when I finished it. So we can talk about it.
Yes.
And now you can talk about everything.
Yeah.
So this will have spoilers for Sunrise on the Reaping. You've been warned.
And The Hunger Games, if you haven't read it. But to be fair, Hunger Games came out like 2008. So it's like, if you haven't read The Hunger Games by now,
or watch the movie, it's your own fault at this point. Either one.
Because most people, if they haven't read the books, they probably have watched the movie. I know there's a handful of people on TikTok that, at least I've gotten onto the side of TikTok of watching people react to the Hunger Games movies for the first time, and like they had never been exposed to the story at all, and it's like they're reading the books for the first time, and I've been like so fascinated by their reactions. There's this one lady, I'm getting sidetracked for 2 seconds, but it's funny, that she was talking about how cute she thought Rue was, and everyone in the comments was just like, and they're like, it's a canon event, we can't interfere, and it's like, we gotta just let it happen, we can't interfere, it's a canon event. And then today she posted another video of her bawling her eyes out when Rue, spoiler, dies, and she's like, I don't even want to finish the book now. Like,
oh my gosh,
we couldn't warn you, it was a canon event, you have to experience the trauma that comes with Rue's death.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was funny.
Yeah, so I thought it was hilarious because you had told me that you'd cried 5 times, and every time I cried, I wrote the page down. And
I didn't go in that depth.
This is where I cried. I wanted to remember. Mostly because the quote. I wanted to remember the quote that got me.
Yeah.
And I needed more quote pages because I forgot to keep track of anything.
Yeah.
And there were literally 5 instances all toward the end when I cried and I bawled, and it was just like, I don't even know where to start. Like, okay, first of all, you were totally right that when you get to the Hunger Games part in the Sunrise on the Reaping, it just goes so fast. I could not. I read like 100 pages in one night and finished it up the next night. I love how she's so creative with the arenas, and this one was more like a lot of different mutts, like mud packs kind of stuff. And how he was kind of like alone. It was like him surviving. Like, he wasn't alone the whole time. There was a lot of stuff, but like, there was a lot of just like, him, you know,
it was like
not a whole lot of fighting drama. Like,
there was like, but I think that was like what made it so brutal is that he wasn't really fighting lots of people, but he would he would meet up with people, form an alliance with them, and then he would continue doing what they were kind of the side mission that they were wanting him to do, and in doing that, the Capitol would kill the people that he was working with, and it happened to him over and over and over, and it's just like, my God, no wonder this guy drinks himself to death almost.
I know. And the thing is, he wasn't trying to win.
He wasn't.
Snow told him, I'm going to kill you. You're not going to make it out of this. And so the sad part is that he wasn't really trying to survive the Hunger Games. Yeah. He was trying to do the mission and go out in a blaze of glory against the Capitol. And it's just so sad. Like, one of the parts that got me, like, I remember you made a comment, like, this is YA, and sometimes I had to remind myself of that, like, something along those lines is what you said. And I, like, there are several parts where I'm like, this feels like dark fantasy, like, not really fantasy, because it's not, it kind of is half fantasy, half sci-fi, dystopian, but either way, it feels very dark and gritty, and, like, violent. Yeah. Like, the part where Amber, whatever his name is, I can't pronounce the kid's name, but the kid that he became really close with, BT.
Yes.
His death.
Oh my God, it was like, brutal. Like, literally, the boy.
I can't look at squirrels the same way again. Like, I'm horrified.
Like, the boy was literally eaten alive to his skeleton. Like, literally, his skeleton was the only thing left. And I'm like, are you, like, that was literally so vivid in her description of that. Like, when she wrote that. Oh my God, man. It was, like so intense.
So clearly. Yeah. And then whenever, what is it? Will, like the W girl, her name, the last one in his alliance that was alive, was him, the little girl, and then the big carrier chick. When he left her to go do a mission and comes back, and the carrier has chopped off her head and is just holding it up in the air.
Oh my god! Like, yeah, Lulu. Are you talking about Lulu?
Compared to the green,
Lulu. Oh yeah. Lulu.
Not Lulu. It was another. Lulu's death was sad too. It was like Willie or
it was one of the little one of the ones he called his ducklings or whatever, his little ducklings. Yeah. Oh my little. Yeah.
Oh my god, and the carrier Silka's just holding up her head, and I'm like,
she attacked me, she came for me, and I'm like, whatever, you know what, like,
like literally, like the night before he had climbed up, for those of you who haven't read the books and don't care about spoilers, he climbs up into the tree to care for the little girl because she's starving to death, and they had gotten some chocolate from some sponsors, and he saw Silka, the carrier, crying, and so he drops some chocolate, and then the next day she just chops off the little girl's head when he left her hidden. Apparently he didn't hide her very well, and I'm just like, oh my god, no wonder why he drinks himself to death. Not just the grief, which it would be bad enough by itself, but just the horrific things that Snow makes him see. And in the aftermath, can we just talk about 1 second how much of a, sorry, I'm gonna say, some people might consider this a cuss word, how much of a bastard Snow is. Oh my god, like, I can't even express to you my hatred of Snow in this. Like,
I think it's the worst. I honestly, genuinely believe, I think that the people, the twisted people that were thirst trapping and fawning over Snow because of the movie are what pushed her to actually write this. Because after reading this, there is no way any sane person could still be like in love with Snow after reading this. There's no way. Yeah. No way at all.
Oh my god. Like, the fact that, like, he was left in that apartment for a while.
Why did they leave him in there so long? Like, that's what I'm wanting to know.
After trapping him in the lab, where he was just, like, waking up and seeing all this insane stuff that would make anybody go crazy. And then he's trapped in the apartment, isolated, which we know isolation in real life does actually make you go crazy. And all he gives him to drink are rolls and milk from that time that he poured the milk out or whatever, drank the milk so that Snow couldn't have it when he was, like, poisoned or whatever. I'm like, that's an a-hole move.
Yeah.
To just, that's the only thing that he gave
honestly,
him to eat and drink.
And at one point you mentioned, like, in the book it mentions that Snow says that he would kill him in the arena or whatever, or like it insinuates that whole concept.
Yeah.
Like, if we could really look at this, the person Haymitch died in the arena.
So Snow was right. I guess
Snow,
I see what
and he never lied. And that's what did he tells Katniss at the beginning of I just read this part earlier today, like Catching Fire. Snow tells Katniss it's going to be a lot easier if he's like, I think we'll make this whole situation a lot simpler by agreeing not to lie to each other. Like, Snow doesn't lie. He twists the truth and in his sadistic way, but he doesn't lie. And that's what makes him such, like, I don't know if it would be like psychopathic, narcissistic. I don't know what kind of label you would put on it. But it's just like, that's where it's like, I want somebody that's literally a certified registered psychiatrist to read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and give me what kind of mental illnesses he has or what issues he has, because Snow is such he's possessive. And it's like, I'm still trying to kind of work it out. Why?
He's like a control freak.
Of all the, like, literally, is it just because Lucy Gray outsmarted him? And is that why he hates 12? Like, I don't know what it is. And it's like...
know. And, like, I think it's anybody who reminds him of the rebellious spirit that she had. I wonder, and Haymitch had that rebellious spirit, and he had to kill it off, and he did, like you said. Yeah. And then Katniss comes and repeats the process, and so it's just like... And then, like, the ending where he's at the Capitol, and he realizes that his family could be killed. There's one line that absolutely guts me every time, and it's like, I want to find it. I think it's, like, somewhere... Okay, hold on. Okay, I gotta go way back. Hold on. I wrote all these down. And it's just like, oh my gosh. Also, I love how she did the recap. I feel like she did it in a way that was like not boring. Okay, I found it. Page 349 of Sunrise and the Reaping. This killed me. Um, okay. For the next 10 days, I'm carted around the capital to parties and interviews and fashion shoots to publicly revel in my victory. No greater suck up exists in the history of the games. No humiliation is beneath me. I will bear anything to keep my loved ones alive.
The fact that they have him in a cage, like an animal, blows my mind.
Feeding him and getting pictures hand feeding him. Like,
this is where
anything to keep his family
this
alive.
is where we're still getting that in between from A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and the main trilogy Hunger Games. That's where we're still getting a little bit of like that old-timey Hunger Games vibe, because if you think about it, Peeta and Katniss, they went through and had all those parties and had all those things like the victory tour and all that jazz. They had all of that. But they were paraded around, definitely, but they weren't like caged up. They were more like put on a pedestal. They were more like on a pedestal, like idolized in a way, but for like a really twisted reason. And it's like, I don't know. And it's like, part of me wonders, like, did Snow keep him in that room for so long? And the fact that Snow is so obsessed over this one girl that he makes some 16-year-old kid watch clips of his old love. His old fascination. Like, what the heck? Yeah, why would you...
They also showed him clips from the most violent games.
Oh my god. Like, literally, I honestly think that Snow was trying to make Haymitch go insane. And his determination to get home to his family and Lenore were the only things keeping him sane. I honestly, because like...
come home and have the fire. And like that was one of the most...
Because that didn't... Because what...
to get to the fire. And he's like, Ma, Sid. And he's like, let me go.
Oh my god, yes.
The other friends are like holding him down. And like, it gutted me. He's like, let me die with them. Yeah. Or something like that. Like, let me go. Like, he just... And then like the promise to Lenore is what kept him from killing... Because I was like, how is he just not going to kill himself? Like, why, you know?
Yeah.
And then I actually believed, like, because I was like, okay, she's probably going to get executed. That's what I was thinking. And then she gets to the meadow and they're starting to have this moment. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe
oh
they
my god,
it
threw me off. I was not expecting it. I know, I did too. Because the thought in the back... Yeah, like, the thought that kept going in the back of my mind was like, something has to happen so severely that he becomes a drunk in a shell of himself. And I'm like, all the deaths that he saw in the games, that would be pretty tasking. Like, that would really be hard on a person. Losing a family. But the one thing that was keeping him sane was the fact that he still had Lenore Dove. Yeah. That was the one thing that kept him sane. And as soon as he realized that the candies that she was eating was not the candies that he had left for her, oh my god. Yeah. And the thought crossed my mind, how did she even...
Like, he said, the fact that he accidentally fed her that first gumdrop and then realized what he had done, he essentially killed her. Like, it was a total accident because Snow switched it out. Yeah. But he was the one that...
But how did Snow do that, though? That's the one that blows my mind. Like, he has to have people on the inside at 12. That or he's so obsessed with 12 that he's visiting constantly and putting things into place, or has literally District 12 feels like his like playground. Like he can watch and there's times like whenever Snow goes to Katniss at the beginning of Catching Fire and essentially he tells her that if you don't like make me believe that you're in love with Peeta, I'm gonna kill Gale. And it's like, I know about the kiss that happened. It's like, does he have cameras everywhere? Like, is he just sitting around watching this district, obsessed? It's like, honey, Lucy Gray's dead. Not dead, but she's old enough at this point that she's probably died of old age. She's not around. Why are you still watching District 12 that obsessively? I don't. Oh my god. Like I
like
just.
some sort of insanity, you know? And it's like it oh my god. And like I remember at the beginning of the book, I loved Haymitch's rebelliousness, like
Mm-hmm.
his rebel attitude, and it's just so heartbreaking to watch him go through this. And the whole, like, at that point, the whole summary of his life after that,
Yeah.
like, this, you know, I drank, I pushed everyone away,
Yeah.
like it just gutted me. It's so sad, but it gives us a clear picture of like why he becomes what he becomes. And as I'm starting to read the Hunger Games, I like forgot, like I feel like, because I remember the movies better because I've watched them more times than I've reread the books. It's been a long time since I've read the books, and I forgot how much of an embarrassing drunk Haymitch is. Like I'm really like observing Haymitch's behaviors and stuff now. And then it's like I can't it's like uh yeah, just pushing everybody away. That one line where it's like, hold on, it's toward the end of this epilogue thing. Yeah, and okay, I make no plans. I have no hopes. Keep no company. Speak to no human being except old Bascom Pie when my Nepith, his alcohol runs low. But I can't say I have no future because I know that every year for my birthday I will get a pair of tributes, one girl and one boy, to mentor to their deaths. Another sunrise on the reaping. And when I remember that, I hear Sid's voice waking me in the morning. That Raven first tapped on my chamber door. Happy birthday, Haymitch. I'm just like, oh my god.
And
like on his birthday he literally gets 2 tributes, and imagine how many, like there's been no victors for 12 since him, so every single boy and girl he's ever mentored since then for the next 15-20 years, it's 50 to 74, so it's like 15-14
like
years,
60
has died. So no wonder why he doesn't want to get close to Katniss and Peeta, because they're just gonna die. And well, in his mind, he thinks Snow will kill every tribute he has just to get back.
And honestly, it took Katniss attacking him, having the audacity and like the guts to attack him, for him to kind of wake up a little bit and be like, "Oh, well, wait a minute," you know, like, and it's just, and the epilogue itself, I felt like also just made it added so much more, like. I don't know. It's just.
It did. It felt like it well-rounded, like it full circle, you know.
Yeah.
And we kind of needed something a little bit more positive too, because there'd been a lot of negativity
also,
at that point.
I absolutely love how she uses the Raven, like the story of the Raven, in the book, and like uses it and like adds so much, like. She writes so that way the quotes within that writing like have so much symbolism with him, and it's just like what he's going through in his story, and I found it really fascinating because it's like
I kind of thought it broke it up a little bit, but I was reading it really late, so I think a lot of the symbolism went over my head at the time, and I was like, I don't understand all this fancy poetic language right now, and I'm just like trying to read the other stuff. So my brain was like, tired brain, didn't get it. It went over my head, but that's what happens when you read at 4 a.m. in the morning, you know. I was like desperately wanting. I was like more like 2 or 3 a.m. at the time actually, but yeah, I just like, it was just for me, it's my favorite one of the whole series. Like, it's just really intense, and I love, and then how creative she was. Like, some of the mutt packs was like, the pack of mutts, I guess I should say, because mutt packs sound kind of weird, was just like the freaking ladybugs that like bit them and then grew to the size of acorns and then exploded. I was like, oh my god, like, that's scary, you know. And also his insecurities, how he kept trying and kept failing, and I'm just like, you poor thing, like, you were trying he was trying so hard to like have this whole burden of like trying to dealt a blow to the Capitol, you know. And it kind of makes me almost again want to reread the other ones too, like later on when he, like, I want his perspective for the whole catching fire plan, because he was obviously doing a lot behind the scenes that they never told Katniss anything. And so it kind of makes you think, well, him and BT obviously and got back together and remade their plan, but just like a different version of it. Like, I want those scenes and conversations and stuff almost, you know. But yeah, so in other news, I wanted to immediately start rereading The Hunger Games when like the next day, so yesterday, and so we went to get groceries, and so I wanted my copies to match. and be the original covers, but they don't have them at the store, and I didn't want to wait for them to be shipped because shipping for us in our house takes forever, and everything gets lost and takes a whole lot longer than it should. So I just went ahead and bought these copies, and so this is the one I've been reading. And then I was like, well, after having a male protagonist, am I gonna still like Katniss's perspective? And so I've been okay. Like, I've been enjoying it a lot. And there's a lot of like little things that I forgot just because I haven't read the books in so long. It also is the fancy paper that you like. And every time I feel it, I think of you. It reminds me of you. I was like, oh, Hannah would love this.
Yeah, I've been holding off on getting those copies because they don't have the new book to match it. And they released those literally like a month before the new book released, and I'm like, why couldn't they have just waited and made like a whole big box thing? Like, anyway, I was slightly irritated at that, but they are very pretty, and I do want them, but at the same time, it bothers me that there's one book missing now.
Yeah, well, for me, I'm like, because my OCD kicked in too, and I was like, ugh, but like I wanted to read them so bad that like at least for me they're like three. The main three is like the pretty ones, and for me the two prequels are hardbacks, and so they look different. So my brain kind of like forgives the fact that the prequels look different. If not, it would just bug the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But my next problem is, like, I'm debating whether I want to actually finish rereading The Hunger Games or not, because it's, like, on the one hand, it's, like, a reread versus, like, I do have other books that I actually want to read right now. And so, and I don't want to DNF The Hunger Games, but at the same time, it's
well, you've already read it, so it's not like you're DNFing it because you've already read it. So, I mean, I don't think it would be that big of a thing. I mean, I wouldn't see it as DNFing because you've already read it.
Yeah. But I was looking on Amazon for something. I think I was trying to figure out the covers for my military romantic suspense. So I was browsing military romantic suspense covers, and I found this one series that kind of looked like, or it sounded like mine, and I was reading the blurb and it sounded good. So I checked out the whole series because, of course, I found the last book in this 12-book series because that's what I always do, and that's the one I want to read. So I was checking out the series, and book one is actually free. And so I was actually kind of like, oh, that's cool, because like it's free, and then it's like $1.99, $2.99, and then the books kind of go up from there, and then they stop at $3.99 per book at that point. But I downloaded it because it's for free, so I haven't started it yet. I don't know what my Kindle is doing. So I was trying to pull up the cover here, and of course it doesn't cooperate with me. So yeah, I downloaded it for free. I haven't started it yet, but I'm kind of interested in it. Of course, it's got one of those shirtless guy covers. I hate those covers so much, but like the whole series is like that, so I'm just like, But in this one, when I was reading book one, they're all Navy SEALs, so this is a Navy SEAL military romantic suspense, which is cool. The last one was, I think, Army Ranger, so I'm like, this is actually directly what I'm doing with my dude.
Okay.
But he ends up on a flight, and he doesn't like flying, and he's like in the middle seat, and like he for some reason doesn't like the middle seat or something, and the woman next to him agrees to trade, and they kind of get to talking, and they really connect deeply, and then the plane gets freaking hijacked. And I'm like, oh my god, like I didn't even think about doing a plane hijacking style book. So I really want to read it, and so my brain is like kind of wanting it, but then I have PTSD from the last time we had this happen to me. This time at least I didn't buy the whole dang series. I'm starting with book one, which was free, so there's no money wasted. But I'm like, I don't want to get my hopes up just to read it and not like it like I did the last several ones, other than that Christian one. And then I'm like, I'm in a Hunger Games mood, so I might as well read the Hunger Games, because there's never going to be another moment that's so perfect for me to want to reread the series. And so that's kind of like my current thing.
That's fair.
But you have finished Hunger Games. Are you starting with Catching Fire?
Yeah.
Not starting with, but continuing with Catching Fire.
Yeah.
Or have you finished that one already, too?
No, I finished Hunger Games, and I've been working on starting Catching Fire. I'm on like chapter 2 or 3, I think. They're on the train, and she just told Haymitch about her visit with Snow. And
I wonder how he reacts to that. Like after
I think
situations with Snow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was just like, and it was interesting because there's at one point where like it just felt like deja vu with what happened. It was like at the beginning of chapter 3, she's like, a visit from President Snow, districts on the verge of uprisings, a direct death threat to Gale, with others to follow. Everyone I love doomed, and who knows who else will pay for my actions. And it was like, it just felt like getting flashbacks from everything that happened with Haymitch. And so we know for a fact, like, with the context of Haymitch's story now, it's like we know for a fact that her fears were valid in that moment, because as a reader, we know for a fact that Snow would go, like, you question of, like, would Snow really go that far to, like, kill everyone? Like, and we see it now, it was like, yeah, yes, he does. Yes, he would. He would. He would go that far. And it's like, because if you read, like, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it's like, it makes you kind of wonder, like, has he matured as he gets older? No.
The answer is no.
No. He doesn't mature. If anything, he gets more possessive and power hungry as he ages.
Yeah, and, like, how it makes you wonder, like, what was going through Haymitch's mind, knowing that he actually did lose everybody that he loves and has to spend his life alone because Snow took everything from him and now is threatening another woman who reminds him of himself.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
and you know that you just have to know that that Snow sees the similarities between her and Haymitch. Like, but Snow also sees that she has what Haymitch doesn't have.
Yeah.
She, like, and I hate calling it luck, but it, like, her situations are so unique that puts her in the perfect position for rebellion. And
that just was not on Haymitch's side. Yeah.
And I can see that. It was just Haymitch had the right idea. It was just too early.
He didn't have enough support either. I think the
didn't.
fact that Haymitch had to support Katniss as a mentor and Peeta.
Yeah.
And, like, she had a better, like, inner circle. Like, he kind of just had no one. Like, he had BT, but, like, you know what I mean? But it's like...
And it's like, I genuinely believe, and it sounds kind of bad, but it's like the districts needed another 25 years of Hunger Games before they were finally to that point where they'd had enough. Like, the 50th Hunger Games.
My math wasn't mathing, but...
I only know that because I looked up how long it had been since Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it was like 65 years, because it was the 10th Hunger Games and Ballad, so I'm like... I was doing the math before, so I had the math ready in my head.
To find out how old Haymitch is in their games, because I'm more of an adult now, so I'm like, can I start crushing on Haymitch, adult Haymitch, minus the drinking? Like, he would be 40. So I'm like, that's... My husband's going to be 40 this year, so technically.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I didn't realize just how old Snow is. He's like an 80-year-old man.
70.
And
he's like 70.
70-some, 80-some, yeah. And it's like, and he still obsesses over teenage children. And I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, like, what's this guy's deal? I
know. He's, like, insane. Also, I did want to talk about the Hunger Games a little bit, because it's been fun to, like, read this with my adult brain and also cringe at my teenage brain, knowing what I thought the last time I read this dang book. So, as a teenager, I was, like, Team Gale all the way, and I didn't like Peeta.
I remember that.
And I don't know what I was thinking, but, like, as an adult now, like, reading it, it's, like, it's obvious that she sees Gale as, like, a brother.
Yeah.
And that she actually really does like Peeta, and, like, just hasn't had the courage to, like, talk to him.
Well, and I think her brain is so in survival mode that she, up until certain points in Catching Fire and in Mockingjay, she hasn't allowed herself to even think about the possibility of romance and love. Because, like, I know in this 100%. One, she talks about how, like, in both of them, she talks about how she never wanted to have kids because she didn't want to have the guilt, like, the stress of having to watch your children go through the games. And, like, in the Catching Fire, she even talks about how, like, victors, if they have children, many times they are targeted more for the games than your normal citizens, because it ups the antics and ups the whole entertainment factor. And it's like,
well, like BT with his son,
yes,
Yeah.
And they're used as like
and it's
punishment.
just
Like you do make one wrong move, and your child has a horrible, horrible death in these brutal games, and it's just like, yeah.
yeah.
I'm agree with
And
you on
so
that
it's
one.
just
I
like,
think you can see there's subtle moments where she freaks out, or like initially when she's like, not him. And it's like, I know that in her head, it's all of this whole pay him back thing. But it's like, I think deep down, I think when he gave her that bread, I think it, like, she developed an appreciation for him. And it's something that it's like way more,
well, I
it's
think
a
a
lot.
lot of it too was with his kindness. Like, she's not used to having
Yeah.
kindness in this world, and I think he gave her such a kindness that it's like,
Yeah.
her mind thinks it's obligatory,
Yeah.
but it's actually like an attachment to the kindness that he
well
does,
and
that
I
he
think
gives her, you know,
and
that
I
kind of
think
thing.
it seems so elementary to say that that she has a crush on him, because it's so much deeper than that. And it's like, she doesn't,
Well,
Katniss
initially
doesn't,
it is,
like,
but
well, I
it
mean, like,
develops into more.
I mean, it's like, but even then, it just seems like she has, like, all of them have been forced to mature a lot quicker than. And it's like, I see my kids at school having these crushes on these kids and everything, and it's like, what Katniss feels for Peeta feels so much deeper than a high school or middle school fascination or crush on somebody. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's
Well,
just
when
like so much more that.
Yeah, well, when you think about the fact that he saved her life, and then I forgot
Yes.
about the dandelion moment afterward.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sparked her. Like, the next day when she saw him, she looked and saw a dandelion, and that's what sparked her to start
Mm-hmm.
looking for herbs. And that,
Yeah.
so not only did he save her with the bread,
Yeah.
he saved her in a second time initially, like,
Yeah.
without realizing it.
Yeah.
And so just the act of kindness, the saving her life, it's like.
Yeah.
Most kids today in high school is not gonna like have a crush that somehow saves their life to some miraculous degree.
Yeah.
So it forms this extra level of attachment there that, like, you know, isn't there before. And then, like, I never realized that, like, her and Gail kind of started. I guess I must have overlooked it, or, you know, dumb teenage brain. But either way, because this came out in 2008, so, like, we were young when this came out. But either way, and how originally her and Gail, it talked about how they had this rivalry at first, and they would like rival each other to try to get better things.
They seem so much like
siblings.
together.
They come across as siblings, and I'm like, how did I not see
That's
this
what,
the first time?
And that's why, like, that would explain why so many of the people in the seam, is it the seam? Is that what they call it? I always forget.
Yeah.
That's why it's so many of them claim that they were cousins, because they probably acted like siblings when they were walking around or doing things or interacting with one another. And Katniss was so comfortable with him that, I mean, again, her relationship with Gale was so much more complex than like a crush or anything. Like, yeah, she probably at some point had the beginnings of feelings for him, but it was like, it was completely swallowed up. Yes.
One of those where it's like,
yeah.
It kind of created this different dynamic between them where they had to work together, survive together.
Yeah.
And it comes across as slightly different than like the
I would agree.
kind of relationship she could have had with Peeta if the games hadn't existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that they focused on, like, her and Gale have to focus on, like, raising their families. Like, they're essentially like adults providing for their families.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot how much of the early Hunter, like, how much of that was influenced by the beginning, because I, like, in Hunter, like, her mom kind of gives up when the dad's taken away and she has to take care of everything, and I forgot that I had kind of, like, really got drawn into that. And, like, Katniss having to grow up and take care of her sister as an adult, looking back on my life in the past when I had to take care of my sister when we would go with our dad, oh my god, as an adult brain, I'm like, you teenager, like, this is so sad. Like, I was just looking at it through the eyes of an adult
where you were connecting, like, you were like making that connection. And I think it's like one of those things, it's so validating for kids to see, like, moments of, like, where they can connect with a character on such a deep level as to say, like, I have lived that, I have lived like that, or I have experienced that. It's like something so, and it's like, that's where it's like, my whole stance on everyone's a reader, you just haven't found the right book yet or the right genre. And it's like, that is why, because there's probably a book out there somewhere that somebody could connect with on such a deep level. But also, what I wanted to mention, can we talk about the fact that Katniss goes on and on and on in Hunger Games about how good of an actor PETA is. And in reality, he's not acting at all, and he genuinely is like has this huge crush on her and like is in love with her, and she's just like, he's such a good actor. He's a way better actor than me. He's always so good on the cameras and making them believe these things, and it's like, honey, he doesn't have to do anything because he already is obsessed with you. I'm like, that was probably one of the most irritating bits, is because she kept talking about how such a good actor he was, and but the thing is like is it Fable that does where you can, it talks about like the character's flaws focused on throughout the book. I forget which one it is. It's either that or Storygraph, but it's like, that's her flaws. She's flawed. She's a flawed character. And it's like, that's just her character. She's mistrusting of people. She's suspicious of things because she's been forced to grow up way quicker than she should have. And
even quicker than most other
yes,
kids in the scene.
And
some kids still had their parents kind of helping them out, whereas she, like, her mom
it was just her
down after her dad's situation. So, I mean, at 11 years old, you know, she was having to worry about how they would start. The fact that she was waiting to turn 12 just to get the tesserae so that she could put her name in, like, she was literally doing that to survive. So the idea of having extra, drawings in the Hunger Game, in the Reaping or whatever, you know, didn't even occur to her, as it was just like, we have to do this or we are going to die. Like, and as a 11-year-old to 12-year-old, it's just like, oh my gosh. You know. Yeah. So, but I don't know if I'm gonna keep rereading it or not. Like, I had a lot of fun. I just sat down and read for like hours last night. Like, I didn't get very far for whatever reason, but I got to page 58 and I started it last night, so it's pretty good. But it's kind of just like one of those things where it's like, I want to get through my TBR list and I'm like rereading. And it feels like I'm not actually reading even though I am. If that makes any weird sense. Yeah. But I'm just like into the world. And like the withdrawal, can we talk about the withdrawal for Sunrise on the Reaping is almost as bad as my withdrawal from Onyx Storm. Even worse, because I'm kind of like obsessively searching the rest of the series for like more Haymitch. Like, I don't know, like my withdrawal, I wasn't expecting to withdraw from this book. It's like a one and done, so it had an ending.
And there's no promise. And there's no promise that she's gonna write any more books. That's the thing. Like, nobody asked for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Nobody asked for Sunrise on the Reaping. She just decided one day, hey, announcement, I'm writing this, and this is gonna release on this day. And people are like, what? And this whole thing, it's like nobody asked for it, but yet she's just like, here you go. So there's no guarantee that we're gonna get any more. Like, people have been asking for Phoenix Games. People have been asking for, like, I know Josh Hutcherson had made the comment that he would be interested in, like, a post-Mockingjay book of some sort. Of, like, in between, like, the end of Mockingjay and the epilogue, that chunk of time where they end up having kids and all of that. Like, he's expressed interest in that whole thing. Like, but it's like, there's no guarantee that we're going to get any more. It's like, it'd be awesome if we did.
Like, and it brings me back to that level of obsession when, after the Hunger Games, like, I started joining the writing competitions that mimicked the Hunger Games. And so we would just, like, invent your arena, pick a year, do a tribute, and then we would get kicked off one by one if we wrote terrible. And it was just like, and it developed my writing style. And I learned how to do a lot, like, less is more. Like, I learned, and I was judged, and I never won anything. I always got kicked off really quickly, and I was so mad. I'm like, I'm determined to beat these judges and, like, show them I'm a good writer, you know, and it really fueled a lot of my stuff. But the fact is, we were still writing a lot of, like, what you would consider Hunger Games fan fiction, and sometimes it wasn't always, like, Hunger Games themed, like, and then I became a host of my own and a judge, and that's how I ended up, like, I'm an editor today because of that. But, like, I just, like, lived and breathed in this world for so long that, like, I forgot how much I'm obsessed with it, and I want more. And so, to me, she could go back and write a book for every single Hunger Games that has ever happened, and I'm just gonna soak it up, and I need more. And
it kind of makes me
go back to writing fan fiction, but like, I have to do something about this.
It kind of makes me actually want to go back and reread Divergent and then read the other two books, because that was what that's what I tried to get into after the Hunger Games was finished, and I just couldn't do it. Like, it was not. I was trying to replace Hunger Games with Divergent after it ended. I was just trying to kind of, that was my withdrawal from Mockingjay, and I'm like, it's not. It's just it's a decent book, but I had no interest in continuing. And then I was spoiled with what happens to one of the main characters at the end of the last one, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to read this series, and I kind of regret not reading it when I was younger because I feel like I would have liked it. But yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think for me, I had enough distance from Hunger Games to Divergent that I was able to enjoy it. But for me, I've just actually been considered doing the Maze Runner series because
I've never read that one either.
Runner.
I haven't read that one either.
I've never watched the movies though.
No,
so
I haven't either.
I have no idea what happens.
Oh.
But it's also a male protagonist with a dangerous situation where they're all trying to survive together.
Yeah.
And so my brain's like, it could be a nice replacement. So that's another thing I was debating about is like, because I
hadn't thought about that, to be honest with you.
Somewhere. So I bring that up in case we wanted to try. So, because I think I have a box set somewhere in my.
I'm like you, like I haven't read the books at all. I've seen maybe the trailer for the movie, and that was it. Like,
yeah,
I just had no interest in it. I just had no interest in them, so it was like, I just didn't even.
It happened after I was kind of grown a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So I just never did.
It came out to be fair, it was originally published in 2009, but I feel like it didn't get big until after the Hunger Games was really big. Because when it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could have sworn it was like 2011.
But that's book one. The paperback Maze Runner book one. It says August 24th of 2010. But Google says that it was originally published in 2009. So it's like 2009, 2010. Which, okay, this one came out in September of 2009. So it was like in the midst of Hunger Games. Like the first one was released. Yeah, it didn't really take off until later.
Social media, it was harder for things to take off back then. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Hey, you can get the hardcover. You can get the hardcover for like $11 on Amazon.
Wow. I have the paperback box set somewhere.
Oh, it says.
I hope to God I didn't get rid of it, but
it says save 50% off on one when you buy two. The buy one get one half. The good old buy one get one half.
The good old 100%. And then the female math where it's like I'm saving money.
Yeah, like it happens every time I go to every time I go to Bath and Body Works and they have the buy 3 get 3 sale, and I'm like, I'm gonna end up spending like $60 in the store, but I'm getting 3 for free, so it's totally okay.
Girl math. I love it.
Oh my god! And how they do that? They make you buy. Well, no, they don't really do that, but they used to. They used to make it to where you would buy all the expensive items would be added, you would pay for all the expensive stuff and you get all your free items or the cheaper stuff. But now they take a little, like a portion off of each total and it tallies up to the 3 items. But it's like, or supposedly. But yeah, that's totally girl math right there.
I feel like when it blew up, I was already in my Mortal Instruments City of Bones kind of phase, and so I'd moved on.
I think I had. I can't remember. I can't remember if I read Hunger Games first or Twilight first. I cannot remember which one I read first. I'm wanting to say I probably
was earlier. I don't know about you, but like I feel like because I remember reading it in 7th grade. Twilight it went big. I was like in love with it before everybody else was, and I remember being so stoked about that.
Twilight is what got me to reading bigger books, but I don't know if you consider these to be bigger books though. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I know if I go into the copyright section, they're first editions, so I imagine I got them around the date that they were published. Do you know how to check your books for that?
What?
Do you know how to check your books for whether, like, for, like, first editions? Like, if they're first editions or not? Not that they matter, but it's, like, some people are really obsessed with that. Like, if you go in here, it will say, like, right around there somewhere. Yeah. I'm curious. Hey, get your catching... Okay, after the stream, we'll need... Get your Catching Fire and look and see what it says.
About that chin shot. Sorry about that chin shot.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm curious. What it...
Well, she's got a Library of Congress cataloging publication data, so she had published it in the Library of Congress. This was published in 2012 by arrangement with Scholastic Inc.
Oh.
Copyright 2009 by Suzanne Collins, The Hunger Games series number 2, large print press, a part of Gale Bentig Learning. The text of this large print edition is unabridged. Other aspects of the book may vary from the original edition. It's set in 16-point Plainton font. And it's published in 2012 by arrangement with Scholastic Inc. So it's a special large print edition of the book that may differ and vary from the original.
Oh.
I wish I would have read that sooner, because I was like, I don't know what this copy is, but that's why it's so dang big.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I mean, my God, this is massive.
Look at compared to like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some people need the big print font, so it's like, hey.
Yeah.
Accessibility,
okay, well,
everyone.
Yeah. So I actually have a couple articles, and I wanted to drop a bomb on you, because when I picked up this article, I knew it was a little controversial, and I just wanted to talk about it, but I wasn't expecting the big bombshell that it is.
Okay.
So, it's Chronicles of Narnia.
I know about this. I think I know what you're gonna say. Yeah. Is it about Meryl Streep?
Chronicles of Controversy. Yeah. Apparently. He's going to get Meryl Streep is reported to be the voice of Aslan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I read that right before we started live streaming, and my jaw was like,
I'm not.
Okay.
It depends on how it's done. If they make Aslan into a female, I'm not watching it. But if she is deep voice acting Aslan, I could possibly look past it. But if they're making Aslan a female, I'm not watching it. Okay, and all I'm going to say about it is that the Chronicles of Narnia, it literally, C.S. Lewis was a theologian. If you didn't know what a theologian is, a Bible person. Simplest way of explaining it.
The Bible
Aslan,
professor,
literally, Aslan is like a fictional character that represents Jesus. In the book, he dies, comes back 3 days later. If you know anything about the Bible, whether you're a Christian or not, in the Bible, it talks about how Jesus dies and comes back to life 3 days later. Literally, the character Aslan is written to illustrate that story. Now, whether you agree with the Bible or not, whether you believe, whether you're a Christian or not, defeats the purpose. It doesn't matter what you believe. We can argue with that all we want, but like in this sense,
I know what you're saying. That's not the point of
this. The point is that the book wrote Aslan as a male, and the character illustrates a real life person that lived on the earth and died. Now, whether you believe what they said happened afterwards doesn't matter. It does, but you know what I'm saying. Historically, there have been secular, non-Christian historians that have backed up the fact that Jesus of Nazareth was a real person. Now, whether you believe him being the Son of God and part of the Trinity and all that, I mean, we could debate about that later if you want. I'm not going to, because I hate debating, but you can debate for me because you love debating. So it's like we balance each other out. But that, like, if they are making it,
that's still kind of irrelevant to the fact that he was a real historical figure who was a male, and this fictional character is
a representation
of him.
Parallel
of that, and representation of that, and so it shouldn't be a female. Yeah, I agree.
It has nothing to do.
Imagine
and it has, and I know some people. And I know, okay, let me get this one last thing out. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with like male superiority or that a woman's not good enough. It has nothing to do with that. It literally has everything to do with the fact of who Aslan was in the books, how he was written in the books, and who he represents, and who that person was in real life. That's what this is about. This is not about Meryl Streep, not about her acting ability, because I love her. She's a wonderful actress. I love her dearly. I love the movies that she's in. It has nothing to do with her. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's a female. It has nothing to do with anything about some male superiority complex thing. It has nothing. It's not that. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And if you put this into a different context, like imagine if it was like about if there was a fictional series that was based off of like Muslim or Hinduism, a different religion than Christianity, and they had changed one of the key characters that were in the fictional.
If they would have made Buddha
a person in Hinduism or Muslim that was like important to their religion, and then turn that into the opposite gender, that would be like,
if they were to make,
people would be very upset.
It would essentially be if they were to make a movie about Buddha and make Buddha a female. Would be the exact same.
Yeah, that's actually perfect.
But I guarantee you it would have a completely different reaction from Hollywood and people in general. Outside of, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Christianity has always been one of those that's like, it's the only one that's really mainstreamed, mocked and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and you can argue one way or the other whether you believe it or
not. Or if we want to apply this, if we want to apply this to a secular story, it would be like a completely fictional story. It would be like making Gandalf a female, or it would be like making Dumbledore a female, or making Snape a female, or making Harry Potter a female, or making it would be there would be no difference there. It would be the
or any other historical figure, like adaptation, like history, Like if they did an adaptation of like, you know, ancient Egypt, and they made one of the main like Pharaoh Ramesses or something, like, you know, a female or some, or Hercules. If they did a remake of Hercules, because he's a really popular one that's always remade, and he turned, you know, he was made into a female, you know, which I'm sure they're probably going to do that at some point. At this point, it's probably going to happen at some point. But yeah.
I don't know. So, have they completely confirmed that she's playing Aslan, or is it still just reported?
It just says that she's one of the ones that's being considered, basically. So it's not like a confirmation. Meryl Streep is in talks to voice Aslan, is according like what it says basically. So yeah. Somebody wrote, but Aslan is a male lion, one fan wrote on X. Of course we need a female Aslan. It would be crazy to just write a female character, another person said.
Yeah, it says that...
which I think is actually sarcastic.
Yeah, it says that while there are reports that Meryl Streep is in talks to voice Aslan, the upcoming Netflix adaptation of Narnia, there's no confirmation has been made yet. Yeah, none of these actors have been joined to the movie, but having Streep voice...
Hopefully the backlash will make them think twice about doing it.
Yeah.
But somebody else was like, Aslan is literally a male lion. With all due respect to Meryl Streep's acting abilities, there's no conceivable reason to cast a female as Aslan unless it's to deliberately subvert C.S. Lewis, another tweet says.
Yeah.
Somebody else actually tweeted, Aslan is Jesus. Jesus was a man, which is kind of what we were saying. Apparently Charlie XCX is in talks for the role of Queen Jadis / the White Witch. And it also said that Daniel Craig was offered a role in the film, but I don't know who he would play. I think Daniel Craig is one of the last James Bond guys. I could see them making Aslan female just because the White Witch is a female and they don't like the idea of the good person being a male and the bad person being a female. I could see that. Yeah. That just came to me. I could see that being kind of a little bit. The director is known for her feminism, and like a lot of her films are like all about like feminism and stuff, and so I can kind of see that from her perspective and her worldview, she wouldn't be.
I honestly, the only thing that could save this, there's one quote that somebody had that, have you learned nothing from the Snow White disaster? I honestly, because like the whole situation with Snow White, they even stopped pre-production on the live action Tangled. They stopped pre-production on it. It's been paused.
I love that movie.
But this is like
probably ruin it. But like,
but it's
yeah,
like I
so.
literally Snow White is going down as the worst remake of all time, and it's like
that's so sad because that's what started Disney off too,
and
like the
they're
original
gonna be
Snow White.
it's
So
gonna
it's
be
like
their greatest failure too. It's what Snow White's what made them,
so
and Snow
ironic.
White is what's gonna break them. I firmly believe that.
That's
It's
so ironic.
the symbolism there is insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I could get on that one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, are you on the New York
crazy.
Post? Is your article the New York Post? Because I'm pretty much reading all of the same
Yeah.
quotes that you have been. I think I just unintentionally found the same article. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other article that I had was Billy Ray returning to Hunger Games franchise. He will adapt the prequel Sunrise on the Reaping, according to CinemaCon. Oscar-nominated screenwriter Billy Ray is returning to the Hunger Games franchise to adapt the Sunrise on the Reaping for Lionsgate.
I have a comment on this whole thing. When you're done.
It will have a global release date of November 20th, 2026. So he I can't talk for some reason. I don't know what I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. He adapted the first Hunger Games film, which was like $695 million at the global box office, and then the 2012 launched Jennifer Lawrence as a, it kind of like kickstarted her and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he says that it's his favorite in the series. Lawrence said on stage today at the Lionsgate CinemaCon presentation in Las Vegas that the cameras will roll in July. It's my favorite book in the series, she said. And Chair Adam Fogelson emphasized the book's jaw-dropping twist. While the previous prequel was set 64 years before. Okay, we already know all that. So
I am genuinely I'm concerned about this movie. One, because they announced the movie before the book was even released. And I saw in an interview that the guy, that one of the main guys, I don't know if it's the main director guy or whatever, had the script before people even knew that the movie was a thing. So unless Suzanne Collins was working that closely with them, I'm very concerned about the accuracy of this movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am very concerned about the accuracy of this movie. Because
the one thing I am excited about though is that I've read the book first. Like that is the one positive, because like I'll be able to go into it with like.
Yeah, I'm glad that. I'm glad I read Ballad first too, like because it definitely, the movie played him out to be a decent guy that you almost kind of felt sorry for, but in the book you see just how much of a twisted man he is, purely because you get his thoughts. You see his thoughts. Yeah. Not just his actions. Yeah. And it's like And that is true.
Because they didn't really have like a narrator. I know people don't really like narrators like in movies, but like in this one, there's a lot of moments where it's like Haymitch's inner thoughts, and like you've mentioned that before, where like that was kind of one of the flaws of the film, and like we don't get a lot of his inner thoughts, and like sure you can parallel.
They rushed the narrative too. In Ballad, they rushed the narrative so much.
Yeah, but like with. You may be able to parallel a few things on screen to show what their inner thoughts are, but like it'll never be the same as like a narrator. Yeah. And so it's like with Haymitch, I wonder if they're gonna have him narrate in the background, like his voiceover a little bit, like because
Woody, what's his last name? The guy that played Haymitch in the original, yes, Woody Harrelson. He have you seen the teaser for the movie?
No.
I
need to film
okay. We'll have to.
Yes. I need to film a reaction video.
Oh yeah, because it's just revealing. You know how in the Hunger Games movies they had like the Mockingjay, the on fire symbol that changed for each of the movies. It's literally just that, revealing that.
Yeah, but so I'll still have to do a reaction video.
Yeah, so I won't say anything about that because I was going to mention something about that, but yeah. But I don't want to spoil it because I want your reaction to be genuine whenever you see it. So I won't say anything because what I was going to say was going to be a major spoiler for that. So I won't say anything.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so it's like I would love it if Woody what's his last name? Harrelson.
Yes.
I was going to say Carlson. I don't know why I was wanting to say Carlson, but I knew it was not Carl. And it was like Harrelson, but I was like, was it like Harrelson? And I couldn't think right out of my head. Anyway, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like if they brought him back for like some of the epilogue-y stuff, or even like at the beginning,
Or-
kind of leading into
or-
the flashback, and then connecting it full circle at the end.
Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
Spoilers for Sunrise on the Reaping. It's literally in the thumbnail. If you didn't look at the thumbnail picture, it's on you. It's literally on you.
Yeah.
And it's in the description as well. So you're lost. Anyway.
And we've mentioned it at the beginning of this video like 5 times.
Yeah. But, okay. So you know how the epilogue essentially is talking about how Haymitch is, like, telling how Haymitch told, like, just kind of told Katniss and Peeta, like, opened up to them about his whole story. And how everything, he just kind of dumped.
I know where you're going with this.
Can you imagine if we had the main characters back again, and it's like him telling a story and going into flashbacks, and you have Woody Harrelson, like, narrating parts? Wouldn't that be so cool? Like, wouldn't it be so cool?
Yes.
And, like, you could have him voice over, like, thoughts and, like, different bits and bobs.
And then the voiceover wouldn't be cringy because it's him telling Katniss and Peeta, and Katniss and Peeta back.
Okay, here another thought. Yeah. Does it feel like this is the book that she's put the most effort into? This one, like, this one feels like the book that she's put the most effort into out of, like, the entire series. Is that just me, or does it feel like this one hits so much more than any of the other ones did?
I would agree with that. I can't speak for the other one, the Snow prequel. I can never say the name of right. You know what I'm talking about. But it does feel like heavier and better.
It's
and, like,
written to make people feel things.
Favorite. Yeah, it's just my favorite of the whole series, and
that's
a lot because
Ballad makes you think and makes you analyze, whereas Sunrise makes you feel things and connects the dots and puts more of an impact behind Haymitch's character. Whereas Sunrise on the Reaping gives a little bit more of an explanation as to why Snow acts the way he does. Not fully, but it kind of explains a little bit of it. Yeah.
And for me, the other question that I had, thinking from an author's perspective, is I want to know, when she wrote the original Hunger Games books, if she already knew Haymitch's story, or if she came up with all of those details as an afterthought. Because if his actions and dialogue in the Hunger Games books aren't, like, if she didn't know what his story
this brings up another point.
You know, I want to know that.
This brings up another point. I've seen people, because I'm getting clips of Hunger Games all over the place on my For You pages and stuff. And there's one clip when Katniss and Peeta on the their outfit, like the parade that leading up to the Capitol, leading up to Snow, in the movie, it pans over to Woody Harrelson, and as soon as they walk out, he does one of these things where his head goes down, like he can't look and can't watch it. And people are making the connection with what happened to him on his parade, where the horses weren't trained, and Lulu, what was her name? I forget the girl's the full name. Luella, when spoiler, she dies at the very beginning. And it's like, a lot of people, that's like a debate that people are having, like, how much of his story did she know? Or, like, she must have either, she saw his acting there and played in Haymitch, played to that acting for the, played into the acting. And or she had his baseline of his story down and had a discussion with and made notes to see, like, hey, this is some of the, you know what I'm saying? I need to know.
As a reader, I need to know.
I know. But it's like, you have to go back and look at that because,
I'm actually wanting to rewatch the movies. I was debating whether I wanted to reread the books first and then rewatch the movies, and then that brings me back to the whole, should I reread them or should I read something else and just go ahead and watch the movies again? Okay. And that's where I'm at currently in my debate.
Fair warning, I don't know how long our pictures have been hidden, but our picture was hidden when I flipped back to Streamlabs. So it had to be within the last, 10 to 15 minutes. So...
Okay.
You got a full ASMR, like a true podcast from us, because you couldn't see our faces for a few minutes there. My bad. I'm moving these books so much that I'm just like, I probably clicked a button is what happened. All right. All right, so I think I've talked about everything I was wanting to kind of touch on. The Narnia thing was the one thing that I had kind of had in the back of my mind that I want to talk about. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that was really the only main thing that I had, other than our huge discussion of Sunrise. So
honestly, this book is so good; it deserved to have its own episode in this. Like,
it was really good.
It's gonna be fun. I was thinking the other day how excited I am this year to be when we should do the book awards at the end of the year again. It's gonna be so much more exciting because I'm gonna have so many, because we only had like from October forward, so we only had like, and we hadn't really intentionally like, and then we had so many anticipated reads this year. I don't know how we're gonna come up with that. Like, that's gonna be insane. So much fun. I know. The only other thing I had was more Fourth Wing casting stuff, and how the one actor that I did not want them to kind of pick for Xaden is, like, they asked him, Josh Houston, and they asked him if he would be playing Xaden, and he says, you have to ask the scribes, I suppose. He said, before he can confirm that he's aware of the rumors that he could be playing either Xaden or his cousin Bodhi. And so, yeah, that's really all. She's like, Yarrow says, I've read 2 versions of the script now. She said at an Onyx Storm release party on January 20th, and it is, oh my god. That's her exact quote. I have read 2 versions of the script now, and it is, oh my god. So in other words, like, it actually seems like it's really good.
So she's
read 2 versions of the script.
So she it has her approval then.
Yeah, and she's like, I was super scared to read it because I think when you hand somebody your baby and you say, tell me what you think is important here, and you're kind of like, it's all important. I understand. Okay, that. Like, that's why I would have to do my own script.
I don't mean this in a bad way, but Josh Houston doesn't look big enough to be Xaden. Like, big enough, like, as in bulky, like bulky enough. Like his it's not so much about, like, for me, it's not so much about looks. It's just he's not, like, at least in the interview clip that I'm getting, he doesn't seem like, I imagine Xaden being way more built in my head.
Yeah,
like, because she sees him as a threat, like he's a threat to her. So in my head,
he doesn't really seem that intimidating.
You know what I'm saying? She's a very small person, and so she sees him as a threat. So, like, part of me kind of, like, seen him as, like, a taller, bigger, like, broader shouldered person, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see how because there have been people that have bulked up for parts. So, like,
he could be potentially a decent Bodhi.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, people have bulked up for roles too, so, like, how he looks now may not always be what he would look like in the movie, but yeah, so, like, if it hasn't been confirmed that he's Ryerson, I think it's, like, back and forth between him and Bodhi, so I could see him as a Bodhi, though, for sure.
Yeah. So what else did Rebecca say? It actually has a lot of quotes from Rebecca here. She gave her stamp of approval to the creators, including showrunner Moria, Wally Beckett, Amazon, MGM Studios, and Michael B. Jordan's Outlier Society. I kicked my feet the entire time, like, I love it, she added. Moria has done an amazing job capturing everyone's voice and the dialogue that you guys love and just the energy and spirit of the book. However, she did have one requirement for whoever is cast as Xaden, opposite of heroine Violet Sorrengail. They know how staunch I am against whitewashing Xaden, she said last year, and so I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But apparently when she read she read 2 versions of the script, she loved it and was kicking her feet, like, essentially fangirling, and gave her stamp of approval for the script writing.
Yeah.
Which means that, because the script, you won't see the acting and stuff and, like, the set and all that crap, but you will see the story pacing and, like, what beats and what scenes are in place, so you will get a sense of how good it's going to be from the script itself. So that's a good sign.
Yeah. And, like, and it's also, like, the fact that she was in love with it shows, because as we know, like, book to movie or book to TV show adaptations, book to movie adaptations, they very rarely put every single scene from the book into the movie. And so it's like the fact that had her fangirling and how good it was tells me that all of the scenes that she felt were important were in there, or that she felt that all of the scenes that were critical for the story were in there. So that's reassuring for sure.
100%. So Yeah, that was the last thing I had.
Oh,
So I
last
think
one.
actually...
People have actually the Night Court edition of the ACOTAR books are officially in Barnes and Noble, and people are very underwhelmed about them. And I honestly kind of feel bad because it's literally the cover is no different. The only difference is they have a kind of basic seal on the back that says Night Court edition, and the little picture on the inside just is different for each book. It's just solid black sprayed edges, nothing else about it. They look very plain. No. And I feel so bad. But and some people were even saying as they thought the whole Night Court edition, calling them that, was a spoiler for the series. If you were a new reader, would that spoil anything for you? If it being a Night Court edition.
Why would the Night Court be featured? I mean, it would indicate that they're going to go there. So I don't know if it would spoil the fact that, like, because she could go there with Tamlin, hypothetically. Like, it doesn't necessarily, like...
That's true.
Depending on how good a person is at analyzing things, like, I'm sure it could. Like, for somebody like Alicia, 100% she'd probably put the things together as she reads. You know, somebody who's really good at picking out clues and stuff. But... I'm still, it's underwhelming, but I kind of believe the theory that they're almost trying to lure in all the boyfriends and husbands that are being kind of drawn in and, like, making it more appealing by the colors because the original ones are just really
I could see it being a stereotypical boyfriend who doesn't, like, I could definitely see it being a boyfriend who doesn't read cover, doesn't want to read romance cover, fantasy romance cover, It takes not that the covers really scream romantic fantasy anyway.
They don't fit with the genre at all. Like everything that I've ever analyzed.
But what blows my mind is literally the only difference between the Barnes & Noble Silver Flame edition that I have, it literally is the exact same black cover. It feels like the only difference, it has the seal on the back and the edges are sprayed, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't have the extra content that one has in it. I don't know if it has a bunch of extra content. I want to say it had something, or it was labeled like the different cover made it the Barnes & Noble edition or whatever, but it's like literally there's no different. They just sprayed the edges and smacked a seal on the back of it. It feels like a cash grab.
Kind of. That's how it comes across to me.
Anyway.
But
all right. Let us know how your week's going.
And what you're reading and all that stuff. So, and if there's any other topics you'd like us to cover, we're happy to talk about it, discuss it, dissect it, all that stuff.
Are there any early 2000s book series that you think we should go back and read or reread? Let us know on that too, because I'm curious. Like, I know, like, Divergent is the one that comes to mind. I didn't even think about Maze Runner, but like Twilight's one of them that I thought about rereading before, and things like that. That's another one.
Yeah, and compared to Powerless.
So if there's any other early 2000s, like, I call them middle school reads, but that's because I was in middle school when they came out or when we read them for the first time. So, but if there's any early 2000 book series that you think would be really cool for us to read as adults, let us know, because I'm definitely would be interested in that. So, all right.
Yeah, that would be fun. All right.
Yep. See y'all later.
See you later. Bye.